Twilight Tides. Chapter 1. A chance encounter. The salty air caressed my skin as I stepped out of the bookstore, clutching a stack of novels under my arm and greeting the fading light of day with a sigh. Another mundane evening in our quiet seaside town had drawn to a close. The sun dipped into the horizon, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold, casting an ethereal glow that never failed to stir something deep within me. I strolled along the shore, the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the rocks a soothing accompaniment to my thoughts. My name is Emily, 25 years old and content in the simplicity of life as a bookseller. My days blended into one another, lost in pages and quiet conversations with patrons. Yet tonight, something had shifted. The universe seemed to whisper a change. I rounded a bend, and an unexpected sight halted my steps. An easel set up on the beach, a canvas before it, swathed in darkness. A man hunched over his work, brushstrokes dancing across the fabric as if guided by moonlight alone. My curiosity piqued. I approached cautiously. "Excuse me," I ventured, not wanting to startle him. He glanced up, and my breath caught. Hazel eyes amidst a tangle of chestnut hair, an angular face set in concentration. "I didn't mean to disturb you." Thomas, the painter, brushed back his hair, revealing a smattering of freckles across his cheeks. "You're not disturbing me at all. Just capturing Twilight's essence." His voice was smooth as honeyed wine, sending a shiver through my frame. I sat on the sand beside him, intrigued by this sudden apparition. Our conversation flowed effortlessly. Books, art, life's purpose. He spoke of his travels with a depth that rivaled the ocean, each word painting a picture in my mind's eye. As dusk gave way to night, he packed up his supplies, inviting me for dinner under the stars. I accepted, and soon found myself seated at an array of candles on the beach, savoring Thai cuisine and his stories of far-off cities and hidden corners. The wind carried the scent of jasmine, mingling with laughter, as we delved into each other's passions. His art was not just lines and colors, it was a reflection of life's beauty, the way light fell upon skin. I couldn't help but share my love for literature. "Your characters are more than words on paper," he said, eyes alight with understanding. "You paint people's souls." He spoke of his next project, capturing our town's essence. My heart skipped a beat. Perhaps it was time to let stories take different forms. Thomas and I lingered long after the last crumb had been savored. The stars brightened above us as he showed me sketches from afar places, each one speaking volumes about the human experience. I felt seen, known in ways I couldn't articulate. A sudden gust swept by, extinguishing some of the candles. In that instant, a strange sense of familiarity enveloped me. A feeling I'd never experienced before. "Do you believe in déjà vu?" he asked, noticing my gaze drift to an old photograph in his hand. "Yes," I replied, the word barely audible. He showed me a portrait of my hometown's lighthouse from a perspective I knew intimately. My heart skipped 2 beats as realization dawned. It was a painting from my childhood. "This is our lighthouse." His eyes narrowed, intrigued. "You recognize it?" A shiver coursed down my spine, the sensation of familiarity lingered. He tucked away his sketchbook and offered his arm. I accepted, unsure why, yet couldn't resist the pull to follow him into the night. We walked until the beach gave way to the cobblestone streets, passing under the lighthouse's watchful gaze, now dark but for a single lantern flickering high above us. "I feel like we've met before," he whispered near my ear as our hands brushed against each other. I couldn't argue. As if drawn by unseen forces, we stood at the edge of town, where ocean and sky blurred together. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and spoke in hushed tones. "If you believe, say it with me." His words tumbled from my lips before he did. "I have always loved you." The world seemed to vibrate with an unspoken truth. Thomas turned to me, and our gazes entwined as though the past had finally caught up with us. A shiver tore through the air, extinguishing the lantern above, plunging us into darkness. In that moment, I couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter would change everything. His lips brushed against my ear. "Meet me here tomorrow at sundown." A promise made, and the night swallowed him whole. I returned to the bookstore, lost in thought until the closing bell echoed through the empty aisles. Closing up shop, a sudden urge compelled me outside. There he stood, sketchbook in hand, under the watchful lighthouse light. He smiled, offering it. The painting of our beloved landmark from my childhood memories. "For you." My fingers traced the lines and colors as he spoke of his visions for this place, of capturing its essence on canvas. The image seared itself into my mind, a promise of what could be. In that moment, under the flickering light, I knew life had taken an unexpected turn. But why did a lingering sense of familiarity linger? We parted ways, promising another meeting at sundown. Chapter 2. Secrets beneath the surface. Days blended together as our meetings became routine. Painting by day, exploring by night. Thomas shared fragments of his past, of a love he lost, and the art that filled the chasm left behind. I shared my dreams, my fears. The fear of losing myself in love again after heartbreak. One evening, as we strolled along the dock, he spoke of his travels but also of a photograph album that had once been his mother's. In it, a little girl with fiery curls and a book-loving smile caught his eye. Little did he know she'd become the muse who shaped his art, and now my heart. I pulled out an old album. Photographs of our town through time. As we pored over them together, pages crinkling in the salty air, a particular photograph made him pause. A little girl with raven hair sat reading under the lighthouse, her eyes reflecting the sun. "That's me," I whispered, old memories flooding back. The album fell from his hands as he pulled me close, and we stood there amidst the sea breeze, suspended in time. Our connection grew stronger with each passing moment, but a nagging sense of familiarity clung to me like the salt air. Thomas's fingers traced my face, tracing the contours I'd grown familiar with over weeks. "Who is she?" His breath warmed my skin as he sought answers within those yellowed pages. My heart pounded in anticipation. "Your mother." His eyes widened as realization dawned. The little girl. Me. It seemed impossible, but there it was. Proof of our connection, etched on paper and soul. "I have to paint you," he said the next day, his voice heavy with an unspoken history between us. His hand remained at my neck, a silent understanding passing between us. He'd need more than paint, he needed me. Together we stood at the lighthouse's base, facing the ocean as it roared against the shore. I felt seen in ways I had never been before. In art and life. His mother's name was Ava. Mine was Arya. The painting materialized in his hands with each stroke of a brush, colors swirled together. An image of our intertwined lives. In that moment, it dawned on me. I knew the book he spoke of, the one that had defined him, was mine. He read from it now, every day, seeking solace and truth in stories. It seemed fate had guided us to this place, at this crossroads. The painting, a time capsule of our first breaths taken together. A gust swept by as he turned the final page. My name scribbled in red ink. "Come tonight," was all he said, before disappearing into the twilight. And so I did, beneath the watchful eye of our lighthouse, where it had all begun. The painting lay spread on a canvas before me. There we were, Arya and Ethan, amidst moonlight and sea spray. A love story born in another life or this one. In his arms, memories long buried rose to the surface. Each brushstroke spoke volumes of what could be yet was, whispers of a soul-deep connection. Our fingers intertwined as the sun dipped into the water. The painting swirled with emotion. Hues I recognized from dreams, people we knew without names. With each stroke of his brush, our story took shape under moonlight and stars. It felt too real to be fiction. He drew my hand to his chest. "We have this before." His heart raced as mine did, like a page turning in an unread book. Our love was not new, it was rekindled. I left him then, but the painting remained, a testament to what could have been if time allowed us a second chance at love. The next morning, he stood outside my door with canvas in hand. "I found you twice," he whispered as Arya's lips met Ethan's on that very page. We embraced beneath the lighthouse, knowing our tale was not new but rekindled. Our hearts beat to the rhythm of a symphony played by unseen hands. The painting became our reality, and I realized I had been writing this story all along. Waiting for him. In the days that followed, Ethan showed Arya to the world. He read from my novel every evening, the words intertwining us further with each stroke. The painting, though never finished, hung in his studio, a testament to our soul's connection. We stood before it, and he spoke not of me but Ava, as though speaking to an old friend. Ava, Arya. Two faces of the same soul, longing for their chance encounter. With each meeting by moonlight, love stories became our own. His mother had left him a legacy, I my own heart. Each day his brushstrokes danced with life, and so did mine. Our tale was one of second chances, souls reconnecting under a painter's strokes. It was as if fate had brought us together, to paint the pages we'd never written. And yet, there were questions. About how our lives merged, what lay beyond this painting, but every day felt like the first brushstroke of something greater. Together, we stood at the edge of town, under the lighthouse's watchful gaze, fingers interwoven. He pulled me close as dawn broke, leaving behind a piece of himself on my doorstep. An unfinished canvas. Arya and Ethan awaited their chance to be painted alive. Chapter 3. Love's Timed Echo. The canvas, his mother's legacy, had become our love story, each day more vivid with every stroke. He told tales from the novel, weaving us deeper into its fabric. Yet, he spoke of Ava as though I were an echo. A soul searching for its other half. It was then that Ethan whispered secrets only my heart knew. Of a choice to be made. He'd been given two paths, follow his mother's path or find me, the keeper of our story. He chose. In this reality and the one before, he'd followed art, here, love. His fingers danced across paper, painting me into existence. Flesh and blood this time. As he finished the final stroke, his breath brushed my neck. A gentle promise that had finally come full circle. Ethan's lips on mine spoke of journeys shared between lives. The painter had left for us to find our own way. They were now free to live their truths. In his absence, I stood before our work, and the world whispered my name. Aria, Aria. Ethan smiled against my mouth. We'd been given a second chance at love's first breath. My fingers traced lines we shared with each other, two souls on paper, then flesh. We faced the dawn together. The sun rising over lives entwined by fate or choice. Ethan took my hand, leading me to where our story had started, beneath the lighthouse, where we'd found each other as Ava and Ethan. The keeper of our tale stood before their creation. A painting so vivid it felt alive. His eyes reflected what he dared not say aloud, that his mother's legacy was not just art but us. Together we took in this new reality, two hearts once one, painted by the brushstrokes of the painter. We'd been given life. The keeper had shown him how love could be reborn. Twice over. I closed my eyes to find myself back in Ethan's embrace, our bodies entwined. Flesh and blood now, painting a tale that was yet to end. And so we danced under those same stars we first met. The keeper of our story watching from afar, smiling at what their creation had become. We found solace in love's rebirth. It seemed time allowed us one final dance, beneath the lighthouse. We walked side by side, hands still intertwined, knowing that the painting was not just a legacy but life shared once more. The keeper smiled as our footprints disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind what they called home, where art and love had become the same thing. Their last offering to us, two souls meant to be. The painter took leave of us, returning the gift he'd given in this reality or the one before.